Naming molecular compounds uses a series of prefixes. Remember, we don't use prefixes in ionic naming, but we must use them if we're naming molecular compounds, because in a molecular compound, we're not balancing charges. Molecular compounds form from two or more nonmetals. Okay, and so because the nonmetals can combine in any ratio, because it's not an ionic, it's not a positive and a negative interaction, then we need to tell the reader how many of each type of element is in the compound. And so we use a system of prefixes. So we use prefix and the first element, and then we use prefix and the second element, and add a paper, and the second element ending is changed to end in "ide." Okay, so the prefixes are given right here. 1 is mono, 2 is di, 3 is tri, 4 is tetra, 5 is penta, 6 is hexa, 7 is hepta, 8 is octa. And so when we're naming compounds, for example, N2O4, our first prefix describes the number of the first element in the compound, and our second prefix describes the number of the second element in the compound. So in this case, we have 2 nitrogens, so that will be dinitrogen. And we have 4 oxygens, so that will be tetraoxide. Remember, we changed the ending to end in "ide." Now, tetraoxide is a little clumsy in the mouth, so we tend to drop the vowel from the end of the prefix, and instead of saying tetraoxide, we just say tetroxide. So this will be dinitrogen tetroxide. Now, if we have only one of the first element, we do not use the prefix mono on the first element. If we did, this compound will be called monocarbon dioxide, but you probably know just from life experience that we call it carbon dioxide because we drop the mono on the first element. We do not drop the mono on the second element. So this compound is called carbon monoxide. Now again, having a double vowel is clumsy, so we drop the O and this becomes carbon monoxide. Okay, let's do a couple more. Let's do PCl3. We've got 1 phosphorus, we drop the mono, so it's just phosphorus. And then we've got 3 chlorines, 3 is tri, so trichloride. And let's do a tricky one, I2F7. 2 iodines, 2 is di, so that's diiodine or diiodine. I tend not to drop this I because otherwise I don't know what it means, it just looks like diodine. And then 7's a tricky one, 7 is hepta, diiodine heptafluoride. Okay, so we're not balancing charges, there's no Roman numerals, we just use a system of prefixes to describe how many of each element is in the compound. And here's our system of prefixes right here. Remember, we're going to recognize it as molecular if it's 2 or more nonmetals.